House of Gormenghast.
It is of a sex, ladyship.
What kind?
It's a boy! It's a boy! It's a boy! Well, bring him in now, you idiot!
You shall be consecrated as Titus, 77th Earl of Grone and Lord of Gormenghast. Have you ever delivered a more hideous child?
Never, my lord, never!
I can't believe the cast list. I mean, it's like every actor you've always wanted to meet and be with or work with, they're all here. They're all here.
He is Gormenghast because it's obvious that his father and his grandfather and his great-grandfather and his great-great-grandfather has gone through a very, very long period of time that they have served this family, which used to happen, of course, when I was a boy in families in this country. His loyalty is 100% to the Earl.
A red flower.
Red, Lordship?
I am a father. If Lord Grone had lived till the baby grew to a toddler, or better still, a 10-year-old, then it would have been possible for them, possibly, to have had a relationship, which would have been awfully nice for the old boy. But alas, he's dead while the child is still in diapers, I should imagine, if there is such a thing in Gormenghast as a diaper.
He's had his bath.
What about it? Bring him back when he's 6.
The interesting thing about Gertrude is that she's not of the family. She's not a Grone. She's married into the family, which, in the light of what we now know about the royal family and the people who marry into, it's never occurred to me until this moment. I think it's jolly hard for somebody to marry into a very close royal unit, because that's what the Grones are. And she has enormous respect for her husband. I don't think they were ever in love. And they possibly only went to bed together twice, because they've only got 2 children. I don't imagine there was much else going on, but she has huge respect for him.
I am Fuchsia. I am me.
She's eldest daughter of the House of Grone, but of course because she's female, she's not really any good for them. You know, they want the son Titus, so she's kind of ignored and just left to her own devices. She has her nanny who looks after her.
A little lordship.
Nanny, why didn't anyone ask me?
Oh, Mary Cart. I can't wait to see him and love him and squeeze him all to death.
I think she was probably born upstairs somewhere in one of the attics and has lived in this castle all her life and been the nanny, probably from when she was 12 or something. Though now she's got this minute baby to look after, and she seems to be the one person who cares about the children. Nobody else seems to care. I mean, she goes on at poor Fuchsia. Naughty girl. Oh, you need a good smack.
I think I will see him every fortnight.
Oh, my poor lungs and my weak heart.
She's very young, very, very young. Even as she gets older, she doesn't lose her kind of adolescent, dreamy. She's completely engrossed in a fairy tale. Her life, as far as she's concerned, could just be a fairy tale.
All I am, I've decided, is a dress, a wig and a hat. But don't tell anybody else.
The 9th day of the month, 11 o'clock. Release.
Well, I play Mr. Barkentine. He's the master of ritual. I have a loathing of fundamentalists, and I suppose if Barkentine was transferred into the real world, he would be a mullah or a extreme right-wing rabbi or a pope or something.
Where the flax is grey with the wisdom, the firstborn male child of the House of Grone.
He is a fundamentalist. He believes in this crap. I mean, I regard it as crap. It is, of course, magnificent crap.
Oh, structurally a sound child, my lord. Sound as a bell.
Damn the structure. Did you see his face?
I noticed his face, sir. I definitely noticed it. If that's of any help. Dr. Prunesqualler is one of the good guys in Gormenghast, really. He seems a bit of a fool. In fact, there's lines in the book where Mervyn Peake says he had a most irritating laugh and he had this thing wrong with him and that thing wrong with him. But he did at least have a mind, you know, which is in stark contrast to some characters.
Why give the power to a baby?
It's ours.
They're both vain and greedy.
Yes.
Means
And stupid.
And
Very stupid.
Clarice and Cora, the two sisters of Lord Groan, eager for power, who are just... There's one wonderful line where it says, to have a thought, for them to have had a thought would have endangered a hemorrhage. One thinks almost naturally of Princess Margaret.
Aristocracy, particularly, is where I find it.
Isolated, cut off from the rest of the world, really.
And not in the world that we know. A different world that we know, that we're led to understand. Hence the fascination with them, I suppose.
Perfect.
Irma Brunscaller is a lady who's living in hope of being plucked from the jaws of a lifetime of spinsterhood marriage to her brother, really. And she is, I think, an incredibly sympathetic character who doesn't get out as much as her brother, as it says in the book, who has fantasies, who has a very long neck. She's very proud of her neck and she's very clean.
It's a world that, in which cracks start to appear. When we first come to it, it seems to be going on and on as it's always gone on, forever. Generation after generation, the Groans will rule Gormenghast. But Steerpike is like a strange virus that appears from the kitchens. And cracks appear, almost literally, in fact, and the whole place collapses.
What you done? Done, sir. When? Nothing, sir. Nothing at all.
It's like Machiavelli. He never does anything for himself, but gets it done. And so, you know, he doesn't actually kill anybody. He never actually hits or hurts anybody like that. It's through different processes, indirectly.
It's almost too easy.
He just gets rid of them. They're like pawns. I need to get them out of my way to go here.
There's a lot of talk of Steerpike as a sort of journey of evil. That doesn't interest me at all about Steerpike. I think it is in a way the incredible fluctuating class system of the last 200 years that is being very honestly described by Mervyn Peake.
I've always been fascinated by those who wanted to work.
Loneliness, sexual frustration, the inability to grow up, the inability to have experience outside of Gormenghast. As you'll find out throughout the story, the fact that he was born there, the fact that he was heavily sexually abused as a child, makes him into a person that cannot trust and cannot accept love or give love, even though no matter how much he'd like to, because he's very, very much in love with Fuchsia.
She's in love with him, but probably more in love with the ideal of him as somebody completely different, as someone who's come from the kitchens and worked his way up, and that just never happens on Gormenghast. You're born where you are and you die where you are. So he's very exotic to her and could possibly be a way out for her, but of course he's actually quite evil.
I believe there should be no poor, no rich, no strong or weak. Equality is everything. Don't you think, Lady Fuchsia?
He wants so much. Everybody wants so much. It just possesses him. What else is there but Gormenghast? It's like this is the world. It's like the Truman Show almost. He's in this dome and he can't leave it. The most he can do is control it. And I think having absolutely no respect as a child, as a young man, makes you want to have respect even if you have to force it out of people, and I think he does.
Get under the carpet now! Get under it! Or you'll get nothing!
Although Steerpike is by no means genocidal, it is extraordinary to watch his progress through the story until it comes to the point where he can quite happily starve two young, harmless, rather mad sisters in a cell till they're skeletons.
People, when they're evil, don't think they're evil. It's like somebody was talking about Hitler, and that Hitler thought he was a great man. He laughed and he smiled and he loved his relations, and he laughed and played with kids and he loved dogs, and he thought he was a great, great man. You do.
He looks exactly like a Mervyn Peake drawing of Steerpike. His spirit is very suited to the role. He's wildly energetic, wildly ambitious young man, very sensitive at the same time, and he's got a well of experience and pain that he draws on. I simply couldn't imagine, he was born to it, I can't imagine anybody else in the part.
It's the right actor and the right actress playing the right part, and frankly, watching them all, as I have, over the last few months, I can't conceive of anybody else playing these roles but the people who are playing them.
I've never read the books as Gothic, because if you take Gothic to mean the works of Edgar Allan Poe, H.P. Lovecraft, Frankenstein, Dracula, the concerns of the Gothic are the sort of inner black recesses of the human soul and the sort of dark nights of the soul. And
there was a dark time, and, far away in the stained quadrant. And until Bunak the Destroyer shall arise, and the Chosen One will come forward, and all that kind of bollocks that is standard fantasy.
Gormenghast is not really about that. Gormenghast it's much bigger. It's a sort of surreal saga of the human condition, if you like.
There are no performances in this which are not acceptable in terms of human characters. It's simply what they look like and the context of the story. I mean, for instance, you cannot put your finger on when this takes place or what kind of period it is, because it could be any time, more or less.
There's hardly anything to compare them to. At times, I think I'm in an Alice in Wonderland world. There's no logic seems to apply. At other times, one thinks of, The Hobbits. And I was a science fiction reader, so there were certain elements of Angela Carter, the lady that came to mind too, with this extraordinary. But he is totally unique.
More than fantasy and science fiction, it's more imagination.
Imagination is not just imagining a thing, a colour that we haven't yet had, or a shape imagination is actually imagining what it is like to be someone else. Imagine to be in someone else's shoes. It's memory and it's real. And that's why works of the imagination are far more valuable and eternal than works of fantasy.
There's no magic, there's no zapping, there's no Star Wars, there's no, sort of zap guns or puffs when people turn into frogs. It's all very realistic, and the characters have a very realistic set of emotions and motivations. And yet, it's set in a fantastic world.
Mervyn Peake? Oh yes, I knew him. I didn't know him very well, but I used to go to Harrods Library a lot to get books, and I always seemed to meet him there. My sister knew him very well. I didn't, just casually. He was absolutely charming and very, very quiet and very reserved, very shy. He had these wonderful blue eyes. They were slightly turned down at the corners like that.
I would imagine that he found the world of politics mostly risible. And most sane people do.
There's a lot of humour and surrealness in it, and I think that he's done it really well. It's because it's kind of a bit odd. It's not really obvious, the comedy and the humour in it, and I think that it's great to have that play on it.
In a sense, it's really a book about the 20th century, which is why it's rather good, I suppose. It's coming out at the beginning of the next. It seems to contain so much of what the century contains without ever referring to it. Mervyn Peake was an official war artist in the Second World War and was one of the first people to see Belsen. In other words, one of the first people to see a new kind of evil of which mankind was really not aware it was capable of.
We've been let down by rationalism. So the notions of good and evil, I think, no longer serve us well. So I don't think it's helpful to see Steerpike as some evil thing that is brought down, because we haven't been really helped by good overpowering evil. It just hasn't been our experience. It's been a terrible century.
It does seem to have that feeling of being a sort of summing up. And I think Peake was a sort of very prescient surrealist. He understood that the world had changed during his lifetime.
Hot in there, very hot. The great thing about The Schoolmasters, and what I enjoy, is that Andy Wilson and Estelle, the producers, seem to have raided the comedy larder when it comes to casting these schoolmasters, and so it's wonderful to be in this sort of bevy of black flapping crows with Martin Clunes and James Dreyfus and Steve Pemberton and Phil Cornwall and Mark Williams. It's just fantastic. And to be doing scenes with Eric Sykes and Spike Milligan is in itself something of a treat.
Death! I can hear it squeak. Here it comes. My wife for death! My wife for death!
Yes, man, yes, he has a name. Show some respect.
It's the headmaster. Get out of it. He's got something to say. I notice for you all.
Oh, who are all these people?
It's your staff, headmaster.
Stephen Fry's character, right, and his costume is based on a school teacher I had at school called Mr. Kirkpatrick, who was my maths teacher, who had some seriously disgusting personal habits.
Oh, there, I see. Your own.
Character names in this are incredible. I think they're brilliant. Like Eric Sykes plays Mollux.
I don't hear very well, and when the BBC rang me and said, would you like to do this film of ours, I said, well, yeah, but can you send me a script? What's it called? They said, Gormenghast. Will you send me a script and I can have a look? And so they said, yeah, we'll bike one over. The next thing, I said, just before they hung out, I said, hang on a minute, what's the name of the character that I'm playing? And this girl said, Mollux, and I put the phone down. Because, you know, and we're living in an age now where that's the norm. I found one, Doctor.
Wrong sex, you idiot.
You bring the female goat, you fool.
And his name, Prune Squalor, is quite interesting because there's a bit of a pun going on there. He's there to prune the squalor, and of course pruning in the sense of pruning roses, and also as in prunes, as a purgation of the sickness in Gormenghast. And I'm sure if Mervyn Peake was looking down, he would say, absolute tripe.
In this episode, there's lots of stuff happening around the school, and we play a group of professors who are been invited to a party being thrown by a woman, which is quite unusual because none of them have seen a woman for years and years. They don't seem to have mothers or sisters or anything, so I am absolutely terrified of meeting this woman.
Professor Mule. Evening.
And it leads to me having a heart attack and running around the garden naked.
Well, my one's gay, so that saves on a lot of
my
acting.
one's rude.
And his is rude.
I play Professor Shred, and basically all the professors are like as one, really. We go around in like a gaggle, and a little knot of professors, and we're like a sort of many-headed monster, if you like.
Step lively like lambs for slaughter.
It's been a laugh. It's been a great laugh doing it. And there's so many great people on there. And as I often say, I am the only one I haven't heard of on this whole thing.
Well, I'm playing sort of the sixth head of the bunch of professors, and he's called Fluke, and he spends just his time laughing at everything, even people who die, and gets told to shut up the whole time.
Irma decides she's going to have a party with her brother Prune Squalor, who reluctantly agrees. And the only kind of available men in Gormenghast are the professors, who, because of the cloistered nature of their profession, haven't seen a woman in 37 years.
Long-necked Irma wants a husband.
No, gentlemen, please. I will not have a lady's name. Oh, bloody bugger! It's him!
When she bends, her hips click, and she's always hoping that somebody will touch her on the hip. And so she has an immense rigidity of sort of permanent sexual frustration.
Tell me now, what is it that's somehow different, my pneumatic one? Ooh, you've gained a bosom.
Well, you've always said that busts are what you make of them.
My dear?
Well, I've made one from a hot water bottle. A very expensive one. Don't you think it gives me pride of bearing? Just tell me exactly. I think what is admirable about her is that this is not in any way accompanied by depression, but rather a high-energized blandness of life. So every moment is full of optimism.
Man.
I've tried to do it in a style that leans on 20th century surrealist art and literature and film. You know, so you've got shades of Fellini, shades of Buñuel. You've got in the design, you've got a massive amount of references to 20th century art, which train spotters will like. Spot the painting, sort of thing. We were trying to sort of make an artist's vision of the world.
Gormenghast is a mid-century classic, and Max Ernst, which was one of the director's influences, is a mid-century artist contemporary with Peake. And we felt that we wanted to represent in this world, which is at once very ancient, all the sort of tradition-breaking impulses of art in the 20th century, both in music and in art. So in the design, you'll spot Miro, you'll spot Pal Clay in wall hangings, in food on the table, in board games, in all kinds of small ways.
Doctor! Where the hell is he?
One of the problems, obviously, if you're building an immense city is you've got to be able to see the city. And the conventional way is to do that, obviously, with models. And I, a long time ago, developed another way of doing it, which is all underwater. So we have smaller models underwater. I put various chemicals in the water to increase atmospheric haze and all sorts of things like that. It does give the feeling of mass. Everything looks very, not so much enormous as massive. I know the cameraman has a rather hard time at first because focal lengths are changed and so on. However, and once they've sorted it out, it works very, very well indeed. Gormenghast of the books it's sort of rather amorphous. You can never really quite tell. But I think there is, at one stage it says it would take 5 hours to cross. So it's the size of Greater London, I suppose. But it's the geography of dreams, really, and dreams don't have dimensions.
We started literally with the green velvet and then bleaching it and breaking it down and making it old. And then we printed it and then appliqued all the animals and then painted all the leaves on it, using a lot of old fabrics and new fabrics. It's a real mix of stuff. And it was a joy to do. It was lovely.
And it's so lovely because I could have looked just like a mountain, but actually it's got a wonderful shape to it, I think. And Sam had to start making it before she knew who was going to wear it. And who's this person here?
This is another bird.
I think it's very humorous. You know, it makes me laugh when I see all the creatures all over the place.
Yeah.
Oh, and you better see my Spice Girl shoes, I suppose, to make me so huge.
He's ugly.
So are you?
I like him better now he's ugly.
I thought it'd be nice to have a stamp or a crest, which we could, like a laundry mark. That's how it started out. I thought it'd be fun, so I could stamp the Gormenghast clothes as if they'd gone to a laundry. So I designed this one for us, taken from Mervyn Peake's drawings and Renaissance drawings. If you put the G's together, funnily enough, it sort of starts to create an owl face. So we thought on Steerpike's final outfit, when he thinks he's made it, it would be great to have an embroidered panel down the front.
Don't be frightened, my lord. It's only a boy from the kitchens. See you in hell, Flay.
Mr. Flay, I think we could take the eye out just a bit more.
So we've kept 3 main features: eyebrows, and the shape of the lips, bunny rabbit ear lips, and the little beauty spots. And the
contact
lenses are the same, and the wigs that are the same. So that really gives an effect of
strangeness
and similarity.
First of all, got to work on getting everything completely synchronised so that it's second nature to us. So that then we can just forget about that and drop it.
Wait! Did he say wait? I don't think we'll wait. I think we'll tell them what he said.
You will wait, and you will sit down and wait.
And so once we knew what the physical mannerisms, the physical gestures were going to be, and then that fitted with the rhythm, over a sort of period of time, they managed to sort of synchronise it.
Wait! Mr. Steerpike!
They say and do everything.
As one.
Yeah, as one, and as it's felt, what you see is what you get. There's nothing more going on. Quite often there's nothing going on. It therefore is quite startling when we do something completely individual, because everything else is as though it's one person doing it.
I pledge my life and honour to restoring you to your privileges.
Our privileges? Does he mean our servants? Our livery? Our coaches? And our thrones? We never had thrones. We did.
All of it. Livery, thrones, servants, coaches. The lot.
But what about Gertrude?
Tell no one what we've said. And you can leave it to me.
We did have thrones. I remember.
By the way, this is bird shit in my hair, not my lunch. If anybody's interested. But wasn't he good? Did you see him today? My white crow, the only one in the world.
And we budgeted a CGI, a computer-generated sort of image to create a puppet rook. And that was going to cost something like £750,000 to do, which obviously we couldn't do. And I opened a paper I would not normally read, which was the Daily Telegraph readers. And there was an article that said, "Boy of 10 saves white albino rook." And my eyes popped out like in The Mask, you know, so boing, like that.
He originally came to us as a small chick. He was found being assaulted by other birds in the wild as a small bird, and he was offered to other people, and then he was brought to me in Wales.
And we said, please train this rook for film work, and you've got a year to do it. Go.
To start with, they asked about how tame he was and whether he could do different scenes and what he would put up with.
And they got him used to noise by putting old tapes of Till Death Us Do Part in his cage with him, so that he would be used to this appalling man shouting and screaming. I think it's a great compliment to the show and to the late Johnny Spate. I'm sure Johnny would have loved it if he'd known that he was used as a means of conditioning an animal.
Not found him.
9 days.
Not found him.
Search 9 days. 75 earls in the history of time. Not one has ever gone missing. They die, abdicate, go mad, take up arms, kill each other, eat their children, mutilate themselves, split, shrink, decompose, but never, never disappear.
I think it's an absolute miracle that we've got what we've got, and it's quite a lot.
I told them. 8 o'clock next Friday.
We've ended up with the only white albino rook in the world, working sort of virtually every day on Gormenghast. Probably the only production in the world that needs a white albino rook to star in it.
The young prince, with stars for eyes and a half moon for a mouth, was asleep and didn't know that the dwarf with brass teeth was creeping towards him.
Master Chalk! Have you come to ask forgiveness for being away so long? What is it, Master Chalk? What's wrong?
Practically every single soundstage here at Chipperton is devoted to Gormenghast, and one set succeeds another with unbelievable impression. The size, the thought, the textures, it's quite remarkable.
The most important thing about it, of course, is the books. And I thought, well, when you go into an old-fashioned bookshop, it's all tall, galleried stacks of books with staircases, and the books are right on top of you, sort of breathing them in as you walk through. And so I enlarged that enormously. And then from that, I had to go to all the sort of actual practical things that the script requires. So I had to sort of work out where the door had to be and the window had to be and how big the window had to be.
This is the sequence we're shooting today. It's the burning of the Groan Library. Steerpike, he's persuaded the twins, Ladies Cora and Clarice, that their path to power will be by burning all of Lord Groan's books, which is what makes him so clever.
We want to do it. So do I. Burn it, burn it.
Every book in that library at some point in his long life he has read. They are scholarly tomes. They form his life. These books are him.
The books contain the ritual. If the Lord didn't have the books and the ritual, well, he wouldn't be the Lord. It's a way of unlocking a door.
We've got to shoot a number of shots that, edited together, will make an exciting action-adventure library burning sequence. It took me nearly 5 months to draw the storyboard.
You take them away and you take his brain away. That's what sends him mad. But mind you, he was a bit eccentric to begin with.
I don't think he ever actually meant for Lord Groan to go nuts.
They're just lighting up all the effects flames, and then they'll set fire to the men.
I said to myself, when I went onto the set, Alexandria, the burning of the library of Alexandria, the total disaster for history of that catastrophe, you know.
Leave him, Flay! No! Take your master's cane, throw it in the window!
My book!
Try it, man!
Not heavy enough, madam!
Paperweight on the table! Find it! Throw the paperweight!
Where? I can't find it!
Well, then climb the shelves to the window and smash it with your father's cane! Well, help her, Mr. Flay!
Pass the chalk! Pass the chalk!
Keep steady, Emma! Just keep steady! Play, hand her ladyship the cane! She can reach the window from there!
Oh, my God,
Get over me! Will you silence my ball!
That one's done and never has to be done again. When they're all red, that's when I'm very happy.